forced labor in its supply chain. The human rights risks that permeate throughout Tesla's value chain, when not adequately addressed, harm shareholder value and undermine Tesla's ability to lead the just transition. Growing attention and concern have been placed on child labor in cobalt mining in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as on forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. 70% of the world's cobalt needed for EV batteries are sourced in the DRC. Over 40,000 children work in artisanal and small-scale mining, often without protective equipment and in dangerous spaces that frequently collapse. Many children are seriously injured or killed in the mining process. In Tesla's latest sustainability report, it claims to have audited 80% of the miners and refiners in their cobalt supply chain against responsible production standards. However, there are many industry-backed standards, some of which are weak, and it isn't clear what percentage of audits were conducted by which initiatives. It is also unclear how the company's due diligence ensures cobalt sourced from child labor is not intermingled in the industrial cobalt supply chain. Subsequently, an estimated 1.8 million people have been subject to state-imposed genocide, detention and internment camps, and forced labor in the Xinjiang Uyghur region. A recent study concluded that automakers cannot conduct meaningful audits in this region. The recent Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act in the United States Senate inquiry into Tesla's supply chain highlights the regulatory risk Tesla faces. We believe a third-party audit would provide greater transparency into how Tesla plans to eradicate child and forced labor from its supply chain. One of Tesla's competitive advantages is its sustainable leadership. Tesla, its board of directors and management team have a moral obligation to pursue ethical sourcing practices that do not rely on the lives of children or enslaved people. Tesla can continue to make a true leadership difference that forges a sustainable economic future that is anchored by innovation, empathy, human development, and shareholder value. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wicks. We will now accept votes for, against, or to abstain for this proposal, but again, only for record holders or legal proxy holders. Please note, this is the final opportunity to submit proxies in order for them to be counted.
So people are submitting their votes right now.
I declare the polls are now closed. Based on proxies we have previously received, I'd like to announce on preliminary basis that our stockholders have approved the recommendations of the Tesla board on all agenda items, except that shareholders have recommended 1 year for non-binding advisory vote on the frequency of future votes on executive compensation. This means that I would like to officially announce our new addition to the Tesla board, J.B. Straubel. After the final tabulation is completed, we will announce specific vote tallies in the filing form 8K within 4 business days of this meeting. That concludes the official business of today's shareholder meeting, which is now adjourned. During the course of the following session, we may discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. Such statements are predictions based on current expectations. Actual events could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those disclosed in our most recent Form 10-K and 10-Q filings with the SEC. Such forward-looking statements represent our views as of today, should not be relied on thereafter, and we disclaim from any obligation to update them after today. And with that, please welcome Elon Musk.
There we go. Audio's out. All right. Guys, it's not my audio. There we go. No breaking windows this time, Elon. All right, guys, if you guys are just tuning on in, this is a shareholder meeting for Tesla, so please keep an eye on the actual stock itself.
I just want to say I love you guys. Well, we've got a lot of great news to talk about today. The Tesla team has done an incredible job of executing over the past year, and we have many exciting years ahead of us. So, yeah. So with the Tesla Master Plan Pod 3, which admittedly was quite technical, we wanted to go into a lot of technical depth. It was clear that what we were saying was not just, were not merely assertions, but that they were backed up with physics and with real data, that it's realistic. And with the Master Plan Part 3, we want to, basically, the goal is to give people hope, realistic hope, and maybe hope's even the wrong word, but simply to say that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen. So I'll kind of rush through a recap of the Master Plan Part 3, but some of the salient points are that it will actually take less energy to go sustainable, not more energy. It's actually more innovative, and some of these things may sound very obvious, but it's more energy efficient to go sustainable, not less. There's less mining that is required for a sustainable energy economy, not more. Also very important. I heard a question raised about cobalt mining, and you know what? We will do a third-party audit. So in fact, we'll put a webcam on the mine. And if anybody sees any children, please let us know. I don't want to go off on a tangent too much on that front, but it's very important to appreciate that most of our battery packs are iron-based. A majority of our battery packs are iron-based, not cobalt. And then our other battery packs are nickel-based, not cobalt. The nickel batteries use a little bit of cobalt as a binder, but only a tiny amount. In contrast, your phones all use 100% cobalt. I recommend complaining to the phone manufacturers.
There's a little laugh.
But even for the small amount of cobalt that we do use, we will make sure, 6 ways to Sunday, that no child labor is being exploited. Obviously, we're a company that cares a lot about doing the right thing, and we don't want to delude ourselves or delude anyone else. So, yeah, Karen.
Yeah, I want to hear about that Cybertruck. Who in the comment section still has a pre-order?
So, again, just recapping Master Plan Part 3, really the point is to say that it is very, very doable. It is happening. We need a threefold increase in solar and wind. We need to, admittedly, some of these are 29-fold increase in vehicle stationary and thermal battery production. Actually, in a nutshell, the way to think about sustainability is the faster we can make battery packs, the faster we can move to a sustainable energy economy. That's the fundamental limiting factor. So, let's grab some water here. So, Yeah, I can't emphasize that point enough. The rate of lithium-ion battery production fundamentally decides the rate at which the world transitions to sustainability, because the batteries are needed for all forms of transport and for stationary storage, given the intermittent nature of solar and wind power. And we do invite people to critique our analysis, because any given analysis is going to be to some degree wrong. So that's why we put it out there, looking for critical feedback to say, well, perhaps we've got some things wrong, perhaps some things need to be adjusted. But generally, the feedback we've gotten is that actually our analysis is quite accurate, and we've not seen any rebuttals thus far that would cause us to change our assumptions. So it means roughly 240 terawatt hours of battery pack, or 240,000 gigawatt hours of battery need to be produced, but it'll only take 0.2% of land area for solar and wind. So it's not like we need to carpet the earth with solar and wind, it's just literally a fraction of a percent. Roughly a $10 trillion manufacturing investment, which relative to the global economy is actually a small number. Yeah, roughly 10% of the world economy. I think 10% of the world economy is a small price to pay for a sustainable energy future. It's also true that even when factoring in the cost or the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle, which for now are a little higher than gasoline vehicles, when you look at the emissions over time, electric vehicles absolutely win by a long shot. And as we're seeing, the cost and the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle are dropping rapidly over time. And we're going to get to the point where an electric vehicle is cheaper than a gasoline vehicle. So in 2022, we avoided releasing about 13 million tons of CO2, reduced manufacturing GHG per vehicle by 30%, and reduced water usage by 15%, despite massive increases in output. So, we also made our factories safer, which is really important. So we track the injuries per person, and we believe at this point we are best in industry, or have the lowest injuries per person. So. We're now actually quite a big company from a headcount standpoint. This is our direct employment number. So this does not count contractors. And for every manufacturing job, depending on how you count it, there are at least 5, sometimes up to 10 jobs created, because you got to look at the total supply chain, as well as all of the support functions. So, when you create a factory like this, you actually create jobs for teachers, lawyers, carpenters, electricians, and restaurants, and everything that's required to support a person in a factory. And this is why countries and states are so interested in having manufacturing facilities in their location. So anyways, it's a lot of people gainfully employed doing very useful things. We received 3.6 million job applications last year, so and once again, the top 2 most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. So,
that is pretty cool.
At the end of the day, the competitiveness of any given company is a function of what where are the most talented people interested in working? That is the team that's going to win. In fact, I'd say this is generally the case. If you look at any given company and say, where are the most smartest, most driven people going to work? That company is going to win. So whether it's Tesla or any other company. We're also excited to announce our next-gen drive unit, which is a big reduction in silicon carbide. It's half the factory space. Notably, there are 0 rare earth elements required. So, yeah. And we're also changing to a 48 volt low voltage architecture in the car. So, yeah, this is a big deal actually. So the cars have been operating with 12 volt batteries for basically about a century. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from 12 volt voltage of, outside the drivetrain to a 48 volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper for in the car as would be needed for a 12 volt battery. So that's a big deal, because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. So. And FSD beta is growing hyper exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. Just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD beta? Okay, great. so what do you think of the latest build? Right?
Camera looks at me and then gives me warnings.
So it's really getting to the point where it's, at least for me, when I drive around, it's several days between interventions. And I think we're getting to the point where that there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. And yeah, so the thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot, like over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal. And I think some people realize it, I think you guys probably realize it, but being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. So.
So ridiculous.
The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week, call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots, because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So it is effectively a 5-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real, but it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world. So yeah, and I think that will continue. and while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world.
Damn, 2% margin?
Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is. This is hard. So, and I'd say for this, it's a massive credit to the Tesla team for, I can't tell you how hard manufacturing is. Like, you've probably heard me say that prototypes are easy, manufacturing is hard. And then manufacturing at scale with positive cash flow is excruciating. It's a mega pain. But the Tesla team has done it. So. And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So, you know, we're making good progress. I mean, it should be said that, and I've made some of these comments, that that interest rates make have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment? And it's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? So for the vast majority of people, it's just, can they afford to pay the payment? As the interest rates increase and credit tightens, like it's safe to say that these various banks that have died are probably somewhat distracted from handing out auto loans. You know, it's like if they're on their way to the cemetery, increasing their auto loan portfolio is not the first thing on their mind. So this is going to be a challenging 12 months. I want to be sort of realistic about it. That Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be just at a macroeconomic level difficult for at least the next 12 months. Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade.
Whoa.
It's important to understand that
Tesla stock
no
dropping.
company is immune to the macroeconomic environment.
Oh.
But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is it's actually a really big deal that Tesla has such a powerful internal software team. I mean, that software team is responsible for handling the entire customer experience from buying the car, delivering the car, operating the factories, service and support. We internally wrote all of the insurance and financial software. The supply chain and logistics stuff, the data centers and infrastructure, and the analytics and insight. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. So, but Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work. And as predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year.
It's good news.
And in fact, in Europe, the best-selling car of any kind, whatsoever, it's already was that in Q1, I should say. It's not like will be, it was that in Q1. And China, the best-selling SUV, and the United States, the best-selling non-pickup vehicle in the United States in Q1. So, it's going well. I don't know if this is like the optimal picture, but Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the seatbelt pre-tensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla. So it's one of those like little known features, but because we have a large battery and we're monitoring things all the time, we can make sure that the cabin temperature never gets to lethal levels, and I think that's a big deal. So, So and then while lots of cars will say they've got 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. So, yeah. So we got a 98% score on the active safety system, which obviously isn't good enough, and we will. But we've got a game plan for getting rid of the last 2%. So. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. So. Superchargers, we're making good progress. So our supercharger uptime is now 99.95%. So, yeah. And we have superchargers practically everywhere at this point.
Not in Arizona.
Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah.
Guys, and this is the boring part. You should be answering questions after.
And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales.
So he should be giving
Yes.
updates, hopefully, on prices, if more price drops are coming, and also
We're
for
expanding Gigafactory Nevada,
the Cybertruck.
for the Tesla Semi production line, and for the 4680 in-house cell production, and yeah, some mega factory stuff. So this is, so we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China, but I think long term, this will be much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year. So the demand is like quasi infinite here. So. As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. I mean, there've been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, can someone please just do lithium refining? Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And we signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Gigamexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So, we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year.
There we go.
Yeah.
Later this year.
So Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the, so yes, it's, that's the thing when I, in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there. And sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year. And I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. Cybertruck is the car I will be driving on a day-to-day basis. So, and people always want to know what our next product is.
Let's see how it reacts.
But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. So, yeah, anyways. If I were to guess, I would say of these two new products, just these two new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just, you know, Elon's guess. So, you know, don't sue me. You know, Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these two models combined. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's their Optimus.
These are all real, by the way.
Imagine working like at Tesla and this is your job. I love that. It looks like the iRobot. That was pretty wild looking.
I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this was a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job. So just, yeah.
I just bought 2 shares. I love that. I love that, Hugo.
And it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is, we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, of if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSE computer as the car. The Optimus stuff is I think extremely underrated, because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. If you say, like, if you have had a
Cybertruck updates.
Generalized.
It's for later this year. It was already
humanoid
announced.
Robot. What would be the effective ratio of humanoid robots to humans? Because I think basically everyone would want one. And maybe people would want more than one, which means the actual demand for something like Optimus, if it really works, which it will, is, I don't know, I mean, 10 billion units? It's some crazy number. It might be 20 billion units if the ratio is, say, 2 to 1 on people, humanoid robots versus people. It might actually be, it's some very big number, is what I'm saying. And a number vastly in excess of the number of cars. So my prediction is that Tesla's long-term value
Will be based off of the Optimus.
A majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
That's why Elon has said that he believes Tesla will become the most valuable company ever, and that means it has to
So I
beat
think
Apple
with that,
at 3 to 4
questions,
trillion.
Perhaps? Okay, what is it? Yeah, we also want to make sure, please, retail investors, please vote. Normally retail investors, for most companies, don't vote, but we really care about your vote of small investors, not just large investors. So please do register to vote. Your vote is very important. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah. So with that, we can go to ad hoc questions from the audience. Okay, definitely the person in the Optimus outfit with the red cowboy hat. Great outfit. Sure. We'll try to get through as many questions as possible. And, you hit me with your toughest questions. Fine.
Okay, it is. Hey, Dad, it's your son Optimus. I wanted to. Do you see it more likely that you guys will have an RV first or a cyber camper?
Well, we don't have any plans to build an RV quite yet, although I can certainly see how Cybertruck could be converted into an RV, and we are adding a lot of sort of attach points to Cybertruck, so others can build things. Somebody can have a startup, or other companies can build things that are attachments that enhance Cybertruck and turn it into a camper, essentially. Because I think it'd be really cool to have all these like third-party things available for Cybertruck.
That's dope.
Thank you.
All right.
So his answer is no, but...
I mean, you could also probably just, if you're that close, you could just say it or something, I don't know.
Actually, we'd like you guys to queue up behind us. So
Okay.
3 mics.
All right. Yeah, so
Go
yeah,
ahead,
go up.
thank you.
And try to make the question short so we can get through a lot of questions. Maybe. Oh, you mean just like a Tesla team doing a podcast about Optimus? Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I wonder if maybe we could have sort of like an addendum after the earnings call, which is like a 30 minutes podcast on Optimus or something, like for those who are interested. Okay, I think we'll do that. So,
Great.
all right.
Hey, Elon, thanks for doing this today. It's an awesome event. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. Hope you guys are having a good time.
Yeah, having a great time.
I'm pretty confident we have the funnest shareholders meeting by a long shot.
Undoubtedly, yeah. It's amazing.
So,
So I'm really excited about a lot of things with Tesla. It's hard to pick a good question that is going to cover everything. But with the energy side of the business, I think it's hugely underrated. I mean, we got tons of problems California with rolling blackouts.
Sure.
How do you think you can incentivize people, more for solar, battery backup, and we've got the referral program's been beefed up as well. So, what are your thoughts there? How we can get people on board?
Yeah, actually one of the challenges in California and a few other places is that in order to have the Powerwall be like an uninterruptible power supply for the house, we have to actually have a switch that disconnects you from the utility. Otherwise, you just, send energy into the grid and it doesn't do anything. That's actually been quite difficult with utilities, but I'd like to thank PG&E for recently helping us get approval for installing the backup switch for Powerwall in California so that people can have uninterrupted power in California. And we're working on that in every jurisdiction. So I'm confident that that's going to be a great long-term situation. And then, as I mentioned, Megapack is growing very, very rapidly. So things are. I mean, things are really growing like ridiculously fast on the energy storage front. So yeah, I feel good about that situation. All right, next question.
Hello.
Okay.
Hey, Elon, a lot of people have just kind of been wondering,
not,
how are you doing? So just wondering, what's up? How you doing? How you feeling? We saw you were partying in Cabo recently, so just...
What, me? Must have been someone else.
So how are you doing? Just human to human, how you doing?
Well, I have to say, it's been a bit of a roller coaster situation. It's actually pretty rare for me to be at a party. So that's like the first party I've been at in a while. And actually wasn't even going to go to it. Then my brother talked me into it. So thanks, Gil. Yeah, I have to say, like sometimes the work pain level is quite excruciating. And then on top of that, I get dumped on in the press. So it's like, it's not exactly super fun. But there was a short-term distraction because I had to do like some major open heart surgery on Twitter to ensure the company's survival. But I think Twitter is now in a stable place, and obviously very excited to have Linda Yaccarino join. And so I think Linda's going to do a great job running Twitter. I'll provide obviously guidance on technology development. But as you can see, I think Twitter at this point has released more new features in the last 6 months than it has in the last 6 years. So, obviously this is not a Twitter meeting, but the larger point is that I feel at this point I don't need to devote incremental time. The amount of time that Twitter will take going forward is relatively small compared to the last 6 months. So yeah. Apart from like there's like some macroeconomic things that we can't do anything about. Overall, I feel very good about the health of the companies, and I'm increasingly optimistic about the future. Thanks for asking. It's kind of you to ask.
Have you guys considered stretching out the financing terms on your auto business? You talked about earlier, consumers don't necessarily look at the sticker price they're paying. All they're concerned about is monthly payment.
Right.
And one of the fundamental advantages of an EV is that it's substantially more durable. And so would you guys ever consider stretching terms out to 10 years, especially in this rate environment, given the shape of the yield curve? Extending the terms out that farther, you'd actually be capturing a lower cost of funds.
Yeah, I mean, the important thing to appreciate is that, like, that the vast majority of the financing is from banks. So it's kind of whatever the banks are prepared to do.
U.S. Bank.
I mean, this year, I guess we'll do on the order of $100 billion of sales. And we don't have $100 billion in cash to finance that. So the vast majority of it has got to come from banks. So it's really the bank's choice of what they're willing to do. And it's, it has been tricky with banks recently because, as I mentioned earlier, if you're a bank and you're not sure whether you're going to be alive or not, it's a pretty big distraction, and increasing your auto loan portfolio is very much a secondary priority. So it's just important to appreciate it's not up to Tesla, it's up to the banks. And there's not some easy solution where you can say have a so-called a captive financing arm, etc., because you have to securitize those loans, and the market for securitizing them is weak. There is no. I wish there was an easy path, but there isn't.
It's a good answer.
So, I think it's just important to remember that the economy moves in cycles, and we've had a very long period of upcycle. The next 12 months will be, I think, difficult for everyone. And I think, when Berkshire Hathaway had their annual meeting, Warren and Charlie actually said, like, hey, this year, the Berkshire companies are going to make less money. They're very well-run organizations, and I think that's just generally true for the economy. So, it's also important to remember that there are good times and there are dark times, but then the good times follow the dark times. So, my advice would be, don't look at the markets for the next 12 months. If there's a dip, buy the dip. And I think you will not be sorry, because there's just generally a sort of there's an economic cycle to things, but things come back up. So my guess is tough times for a year. Like I said, just my guess. But then Tesla will emerge stronger than ever, and the long term, if you say like net present value of future cash flows, will be incredible, in my opinion. All right.
I like that. In my opinion. Yep.
Hey, Elon, meet Kevin here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. So Tesla is the largest position in my ETF, ticker PP, and that's pricing power.
Right.
And I'm curious, I really think that some of the features that you highlighted here, like the over-the-air airbag deployments of improving features, the safety features, are great things that we could be advertising. I know you've heard this many times before. I know you have. But
Sorry, go ahead, yeah.
$525 off every car this year is half a Netflix's advertising budget. $1,000 is the entire Netflix advertising budget, and I see their ads everywhere. Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this. I just talked to Gordo, the Tesla bear, and he's still talking about 2016 New York Times pieces. These people are in the past, man.
That's like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's actually, I talked to a lot of people, and they still think that like Teslas are like super expensive, and like, no, actually, the starting price for a Tesla is below the average auto price in the US. It's like, and that's a good thing. I mean, I think it's good that it's that way, like our goal was always to make cars that are affordable to the general public. So I hear you. I mean, I think, and it's indeed ironic that, Twitter is like highly dependent on advertising. So, here I am, it's like, never used advertising really before, and now have a company that's highly dependent on advertising. So I guess I should say advertising is awesome and everyone should do it. but I think I hear your sort of larger point, which is that there are amazing features and functionality about Teslas that people just don't know about. So yeah. And although there's obviously a lot of people that follow, like say the Tesla account and the my account, whatever, on Twitter, to some degree it is preaching to the choir, and the choir is already convinced. So I think what you're saying does have some merit, and you know what? I believe in taking suggestions. So we'll try a little advertising and see how it goes. Okay. Okay. All right. I wasn't expecting that level of enthusiasm. But okay, it sounds like our shareholders, if I read between the lines, subtle as it is, are saying we should probably do some advertising. Okay, very well. All right.
Hi, Elon. Hi, Tesla. Thank you for everything. So my question is regarding, you recently added Steam to the car, and that's great. We can play video games. Is Tesla currently developing the ability for other parties to develop apps for the car? For example, if we can buy actually customizable themes for the operating system of the car, I think you can make some revenue there, like that space themes for the car or Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. Do you have any interest in that right now?
Well, I mean, I think the notion of having entertainment apps and whatnot becomes increasingly important as the cars achieve self-driving, because otherwise you can only really play games or watch movies or whatever when the car is stationary. Which if it's charging or whatever, then you can use it. But when it's at the point at which it's full self-driving, I think it's very much about entertainment and productivity. So I think that is something that might make sense in the future. But overwhelmingly, the focus right now for Tesla software, apart from improving safety, is achieving full self-driving, and then getting full self-driving to be much safer than human driving. And then once we achieve full self-driving, I think that there could be a lot of opportunity for apps and whatnot. But even in the car as it is today, for a Model S and X, we've made a sort of a full Steam integration. So you can actually just literally log on with a Model S or X with your Steam account and play any game that is on Steam, which is a lot of games, which is pretty wild. I think a lot of people don't know that. You can play with a keyboard and mouse. You can play with a joystick or controller. You can also play Netflix, YouTube, or anything else. For my little son X, he loves watching, loves watching rocket videos in the rear screen of the Model S and X. So so it is something that we will do long term. But what I'm saying is we already have a lot of stuff there, and we'll do more as self-driving becomes a reality. So, yeah.
Hey Elon, I'm John, or Dr. Know-It-All on YouTube, and I don't know it all. But anyway, my question is, as you guys move completely or finish the transition in full self-driving from version 1.0 of the software to 2.0, what do you perceive of as the potential stumbling blocks after that? Because it seems like that's the major, kind of step change that needed to happen, and so you're almost done with that, and what happens after that? And also, please let me interview about full self-driving. I'll spend 2 hours talking about just that. So, thank you.
Well, one can really think about full self-driving as a sort of a march of nines of reliability. So we need to get to the point where the probability of injury is lower than that of the average human driver, and then ultimately probability of injury is much lower. So even at the point at which the car is capable of driving itself, there's still actually a lot of work to do, because every year there's 1 million people that die in auto accidents, and I think probably everyone in this audience has friends and family that have died or been seriously injured in auto accidents. And for there's 1 million people that died, there's 10 million people roughly that are seriously, permanently injured. And so it matters that if we can get that down by an order of magnitude, there's 900,000 lives saved per year, maybe 9 million severe injuries prevented per year. And so that really, I think, morally has to be our primary goal. I guess I'm open to an interview on FSD. 2 hours is a long time, but okay. All right, I'll do an interview. Okay. All right, I'll do an interview. It's gonna be on Twitter, but sure. All right.
Hi, Elon. I'm Josh Phillips, long-term retail investor. My question's about battery-grade lithium supply in the next 10 years. Lithium experts all agree that mines are just not coming online fast enough to meet battery supply. And actually, Drew Baglino pointed this out recently. Some mines take 10 years plus to be permitted. And even GM has actually announced like huge lithium deals that will like secure away supply from the rest of the industry. So what's Tesla's plans to get more supply of lithium at the mine level outside of refining, but also at a deeper level than a traditional offtake? Because as we know, he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Sure. I actually think that the industry analysis is incorrect, and the constraint is fundamentally that of processing. Now our refinery in Corpus Christi that we're building is primarily oriented towards refining spodumene, of which there is a truly vast amount in the world. I think about 3/4 of our lithium comes from Australia. And frankly, you could increase the rate at which the mines are operating. And the limiting factor is not how fast can you mine, but how fast can you process. So the mines are only gonna produce ore at the rate at which refineries can handle the ore, or it's pointless. So I think, my opinion, and obviously I could be wrong about this, but is that it's really not about the lithium ore. Lithium is extremely common. Lithium is everywhere. In every country's got lithium. It's not like oil. So lithium is one of the most common elements on Earth. But taking the lithium ore and refining it to battery grade is extremely difficult because the purity levels required for a battery are extremely high. If you have even a small impurity, then you will degrade the life of the cell dramatically. So you need ultra pure battery grade lithium, and that's why our focus is on refining as opposed to mining. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm going to be closing out the live stream. I just want to do a quick little recap on Tesla's performance since the shareholder meeting started. So it looks like Tesla closed up 1.67% in the green. We gapped up, and this was shortly after Elon began talking about the Cybertruck and also the Optimus robot. For those that didn't hear, he believes the Optimus robot is going to be one of the items that really takes Tesla to the next level, and that in the next 10 years, he thinks that Tesla itself will become the most valuable company in the world. He thinks when it comes down to the Cybertruck, it should be ready and should be producing, right? He said producing. Production should start towards the end of this year. And then he talked about two other vehicles, he called them products. So he didn't call them vehicles, he called them products. Two other products that should be released or at least showcased hopefully soon. He didn't give too much detail about it, but he said about 5 million units should be sold of these products a year, right? So is it going to be a cheaper vehicle that instead of the Tesla Model 3, it's going to be the Tesla Model 4, or I don't know what he's going to add to it, Tesla Model 2, and it's going to be a cheaper $20,000 range Tesla. And then what could the other item be? I mean, he already talked about the Cybertruck, he talked about the Semi, he talked about Optimus, so your guess is as good as mine. But just want to say thank you again for tuning on in. One of the biggest things that I think we want to highlight with what Elon said, it's not even just talking about Tesla, but it's about the overall economy, that he sees that for the next 12 months, he was kind of like, don't even look at the stock price for the next 12 months. So I would say in a very lighthearted way, he's just kind of trying to give you some insight that he does think that we're going to go into a potential recession and things might get worse before they get better. But ultimately, right, a strong company comes out even stronger after a recession. So he said, if you're a long-term investor, don't worry about it. We got you covered. We are set to be the most valuable company that's publicly traded in the next 10 years, but next 12 months, not just for Tesla, but as the economy as a whole, he does expect it to kind of slow down and maybe take a hit. So I think that's important to kind of just take notes of, recapping that cyber roundup. If you have any questions about what was talked about today, guys, feel free to message me via Discord. That's that second link in the description down below. If you don't see any of the links, refresh this video and it's all linked in the description. I do want to invite all of you guys to our free live trading session. I'm going to be giving away $1,000 during this free live trading session this Friday, and that's that first link in the description down below if you want to save your free spot. I've given away $2,000 already on May 5th. We gave it away live to Kevin Quinn. And then on May 12th to Teen Tran, we give it away live. So again, on May 19th, so just in a few days, right, 3 days total from now, I'm going to be giving away another $1,000. Will it be to you? I don't know, right? You have to save your spot. I'm going to be giving away $1,000, and you also get an inside look of what it's like to watch me trade live in the stock market, and that's that first link in the description down below. Also, do not forget to enter our GTR giveaway. There's only 19 days left, and we are running prize week, which means that every order, big or small, gets a prize. So if you haven't entered already, this is the week to enter. You'll get a prize. These are some of the prizes: PlayStation, Xbox, PS5, up to $100 cash. So cash is one of them. Drone, Apple Watch, Beat Studios, and iPad. Every order gets one of these prizes. Again, it can be cash. It could be one of these prizes, but every order gets a prize. So head on over to shoptechbuds.com or click the fourth link in the description down below and get entered for the GTR giveaway today. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note.